Averaging 15 to 20 points per game is actually way easier than you may think. And if you don't believe me, just look at the NBA's leading scorer, SGA. I mean, this man drops 30 to 40 points every night while making it look like he's not even trying. I mean, it's almost like he's gonna be the MVP or something. You get it? Because, like, he's gonna be the MVP. But on a serious note, him being able to drop how many points he wants, whenever he wants, led me to take a deep dive into his game so I could hopefully figure out some patterns and techniques that he uses to drop such high point games consistently. And fortunately for me, after watching so much of his film, I've discovered that dropping high point games is actually much simpler than most make it seem. In fact, I'd argue that anyone who implements these tips and moves that SGA uses to help him average 32 points a game will see an increase of at least 10 to 20 points to your average. I mean, these work so well that I bet even my mom could drop 20 points.
And now give it some razzle-dazzle.
That's my mom.
So without further ado, let's look at 5 things that SGA does to help him average over 32 points a game, and how implementing these into your game can help you increase your average by 15 to 20 points at least. Now, the first and arguably the most important thing SGA does is something that seems like common sense, but actually gets overlooked by a lot of people, and that's simply mastering the fundamentals. Now, I know this sounds cliche, but seriously, if you just take a second to watch him play, you'll realize that Buddy is fundamentally perfect. He has near perfect handles, allowing him to escape sticky situations whilst keeping his dribble alive. He leads his team in assists, which means he's obviously great at passing, and he can shoot and finish with the best of them. And don't even get me started on his footwork.
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's in here?
I don't care. Don't tell me.
He even dominates on the defensive side, leading the entire league in steals as well. When you look at his game, you realize quite quickly that Shai really has no flaws at all.
Get off that nigga dick, bro. What is you doing?
And while this may sound like glaze, it's the truth. So before you implement anything, make sure you first have down the fundamentals. And just by mastering those alone, you can increase your average by at least 5 points. Now, this second tip is by far one of the easiest ways to score more points, not only for you, but for your teammates as well. This simple trick will open up a multitude of possibilities for you to dominate the court while allowing you to control the opposing team's defenders and have them dancing in the palm of your hand. And believe it or not, you already know what this technique is. And that's because the name of this technique is pick and rolls. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way pick and rolls can be that useful in game. And honestly, before studying SGA, I would have probably said the same exact thing. But when it comes to Shai, he has completely mastered scoring off the pick and roll. And believe it or not, he actually averages the second most points off of this, getting around 12.3 points per game just off of pick and rolls, right behind Cade Cunningham, who averages 13 points per game. So to put that in perspective, this season alone, SGA is averaging around 32.7 points per game. Crazy, I know. But since Shai averages 12.3 points off of pick and rolls, that means that roughly 1/3 of his points come purely off of pick and rolls. So taking that into consideration, imagine the amount of points you can add to your game just by utilizing more pick and rolls. I'm talking at least 5 to 10 more points. But wait, because while this sounds amazing, if you don't know the proper decisions to make after getting the screen, then you can actually do more harm than good, leading to forced shots, bad passes, and even turnovers that'll have you sitting on the bench. So you may be asking, what are the proper reads to make after getting a pick and roll? And well, they actually aren't as complicated as you may think. Now, your first and easiest read should always be to score. Remember, we're trying to raise your average. So if the opportunity presents itself, don't hesitate to drive for a layup or even shoot the wide open shot. Your second option is to hit the big on the roll or the pop. This will usually open up after you get a few buckets. Since teams will start focusing their attention on you, that'll leave the screener open for the easy pass. And your last option is to hit the wing or the corner. This is because sometimes the man guarding those areas will leave their assigned person to come help protect the paint from you and the screener. And this will leave the man they're guarding wide open for an easy catch and shoot or a backdoor layup. And remember, if all else fails, you can always bring the ball up for a reset, or you can bring it out and try it again. Now, the next thing Shai does gets him an easy 6 points per game. So easy, in fact, that this is the simplest trick on this list, and that's scoring off of the fast break. Pretty simple, right? And the best thing about it is that all you have to do to implement this into your game is hustle up and down the floor before anyone else. And just by doing that, you can increase your average points per game by at least another 5. Now, the fourth thing Shea does will get you both points, and it will cause all defenders to fear playing against you every single time you step on the court. This actually works so well that even the fans hate seeing it in action. And if you haven't guessed it by now, the technique that I'm referring to is known as drawing fouls. Keep in mind, this strategy is very controversial, but if you don't care what other people have to say, then this is a great way to increase your average. And while yes, this sounds incredible, this may actually be the hardest thing to pull off in-game on this list. But who better to study to help us with this problem than SGA? I mean, bro's literal nickname is the Foul Merchant. But on a serious note, stats show that SGA attempts at least 8 free throws per game. And this season, he shoots around 90% from the free throw line. So based on this, we can assume that he scores about 7 points off of free throws every game. So you can see how learning how to draw fouls and get to the line without cheating can add another 5 or more points to your average. And finally, the rest of his points just come down to isolation and the flow of the game. Just by letting the game come to you, you can score another 5 to 10 points easily just by utilizing catch and shoots and easy layups. So far, I've given you 5 simple tips that when used in game are guaranteed to bring your average up at least 15 to 20 points. And if you're satisfied with just that, then you're free to go. But if you truly want to bring your scoring ability to the next level while becoming the hooper that dominates any defender that stands in your way, then you might want to see what I found. Because in this next section, we take a deeper dive not only into SGA's game, but into his bag as well. And honestly, I can confidently say from experience that if you use these moves in any ISO situation you're in, your defender won't be able to keep up. And that'll allow you to effortlessly score on any defender that stands in your way. So if that sounds intriguing to you, then good, because that means you're among the top echelon of hoopers who actually have the drive to reach their max potential. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of the moves that helped SGA lead the entire league in scoring. Now, before we get into anything, I need you to understand this simple yet majorly overlooked fact. This one mistake is the reason why millions of hoopers around the world will never make it past the amateur level. And that simple fact is that simple is best. And though you may not want to hear this, it's the truth. SGA rarely, if ever, walks up to a defender and starts hitting a 20 dribble combo just to get by them. He usually only uses 1 to 3 moves at most and then blows by them with ease. You should be reacting to the defender instead of pre-planning moves to do in your head. And another thing you should always want to do is score in the least amount of dribbles possible. A general rule that most coaches will allow is 3 to 5 dribbles max. And if you don't understand why, that's okay, because honestly, I didn't either. But the reason behind this is because it's actually more efficient. Sure, scoring with a double behind the back between the legs James Harden setback seems cool, but it's honestly a waste of energy when you could score the same amount of points in less to no dribbles. And if you really want to drop high point games consistently, then you need to save as much energy as possible throughout the game. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying practicing combo moves are completely bad for basketball, because that would just be a lie. However, I do believe that if you're prioritizing practicing scoring off of those moves instead of the simple moves like a between the legs, 1 dribble pull up, or a catch and shoot, then you might be doing something wrong. But that's all that you really need to know before learning these moves. So without further ado, let's actually take a look at the moves themselves. Now, you can't talk about SGA and forget about the delayed tween. The delayed tween is probably Shea's most used move, but I mean, can you really blame him? The move is so versatile that you can use it before or after any move. And remember what I said before about scoring in the least amount of dribbles possible? Well, get this. The delayed tween can be used as both a setup move and it can be used on its own to attack the defender. When it comes to versatility, the delayed tween is pretty high up there, which is why if you go and watch an OKC game, you're more than likely going to see Shea use this move almost all of the time. So all I'm saying is, if I were you, I'd definitely be putting this move in my bag as soon as possible. Now, this next move is probably SGA's favorite way to score in the mid-range area. I mean, this move creates a crazy amount of space while also making your defender look like a little boy. And if you haven't figured out what I'm talking about yet, the move I'm referring to is the bump step back. Now, if you watch SGA even for a few seconds, you probably already know just how effective this move really is. This is usually one of his go-tos if he wants to get an easy bucket off of a jump shot, and that's just because of the crazy amount of space that it gives him for his jump shots. So imagine how much space you could really get if you decided to use this move in most of your games. But what you don't know is the main reason that this move works so well is because Shai is using one simple trick that literally makes this move impossible to guard. But wait, because before I tell you what it is, I want you to watch these clips first. And while you're watching them, I want you to try to notice any patterns and tendencies that SGA uses between the clips.
They've outscored the Nuggets by 17. Shai dismisses Dave Otter. SGA, baseline shot, that's out.
Around the OKC Thunder. They were in a tough matchup in the second round, lost to Dallas.
Now, if you notice that he's using the bump step back in all of these, while you would technically be correct, let's take a deeper look. Instead of looking at the move itself, let's more so look at when he decides to use it. Taking a closer look, we'll see that he always bumps his defender when they're off balance or when they least expect it. And on top of that, if he doesn't get enough space on the bump, he'll just make sure to fade away so he can get as much room as possible on the jump shot. And as for the rest of his moves, I already went over them in another video, which you can find here. So click on it if you're interested. But other than that, thanks for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you next time. God bless.